Today with me on the stage we have Yuma that is going to present us how you can actually hack from the physical level, from hacking badges from companies up to C2 persistence. So the stage is yours, Yuma.
Hey. Thank you for coming to my talk. We will share advanced intrusion techniques. We are Satoki, Tsuji, and Yuma Kurogome. I'm Yuma. So let me start with an attack scenario. One day, there was a meeting with a startup company. After the meeting, a USB cable was left in the conference room. A few days later, someone connected that cable. That cable was actually a keylogger. As you can see on the screen, the message, "Dear investor," was recorded character by character. A few days later, an executive received an email. It appeared to be from an investor. The subject is investor update, immediate review required. An acquisition proposal was attached. It appeared to be a legitimate business email. However, it was actually sent by the attacker. The attacker was mimicking an investor. The attacker analyzed the information obtained from the keylogger, who performs which task, who makes decisions. And with such intelligence, the attacker targeted an executive with higher privileges. The attacker crafted this targeted email based on keylogger data. The attached file contained malicious macros. What you see on the screen is obfuscated macro. As illustrated, advanced intrusions include transitions from physical to cyber pivot, and pivots from cyber to physical. This is our topic today. So let me briefly introduce ourselves. We came from Japan. We work at Ricerca Security, a company specializing in offensive security. We conduct vulnerability research with funding from the Japanese government. Based on this knowledge and expertise, we provide pen testing services to our clients. As part of this work, we systematize scenarios like those mentioned earlier. Our guys were also at the DefCamp CTF yesterday. So that guy is Satoki. He's one of Japan's leading CTF players. He has participated in the DEFCON CTF finals for 4 years. He is also listed in the Google Bug Hunters Hall of Fame. And I'm Yuma, CTO at Ricerca Security, overseeing offensive security operations, including pen testing. So, to share what pen testing looks like in Japan, let me first describe the threat environment. I will introduce 2 representative recent incidents. Case 1, querying attack on Asahi Group. The intrusion occurred via stolen VPN credentials. This was followed by lateral movement, encryption, and data exfiltration. As a result, factory operations were suspended. The supply chain was disrupted. This incident had a unique impact on daily life in Japan. Asahi Super Dry is one of the Japan's famous beers. It became available at restaurants. Among all cyber attacks, this was, I think, literally the incident that most affected everyday life. So case 2, TradeRadar and Lazarus group attack on DM Bitcoin. Let me explain the attack flow in detail. First, TradeRadar contacted an employee of a related company of DM Bitcoin. They used LinkedIn. They sent messages such as, "I was impressed by your skills. I want to learn programming." After successful contact, TradeRadar exchanged a message with the employee. These were disguised as a pre-implement test. In these exchanges, they sent a URL. It accessed a Python script on GitHub. They asked, "Could you check if there are any improvements to our program?" The employee copied the Python script to their own GitHub page, and the script contained malicious code. So the employee's environment was compromised. How did they attack from there? TradeRadar stole session cookies from the compromised employee's machine, and they successfully gained system access. And finally, they tampered with legitimate transaction requests. So what does this mean? Having the same privileges as legitimate employees means they could perform the same actions as insider threats. The result was a cryptocurrency theft of 48.2 billion yen, and the exchange shut down, the business closed. The stolen funds ultimately funded the DPRK. So, what threat actors should we simulate? Attack actors continuously targeting the Japanese can be broadly classified into three categories. First, Panda, Chinese APT groups. Their activities can be characterized by these features, and in particular, they discover and exploit zero-day vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities are in IT asset management tools and EDR management tools in Japan, and these victim tools are widely used in Japan. So this means they obtain verification environment for products. So they do this through front companies, and they conduct organized vulnerability research. So in other words, the security tools we trust and use can themselves become the entry point for attacks. Second, Bear, Russian APT groups. As a technical characteristics, other attackers prefer script languages like Python and Node.js, but Russian groups make heavy use of roll beans, that is, leaving of the land binaries. And this is a technique that abuses legitimate tools and commands. This exists by default in Windows environments such as PowerShell and WMI. Since they can execute attacks without bringing in external malware, detection becomes difficult. And separately from cyber attacks, they also conduct campaigns, misinformation and disinformation campaigns through social media like Twitter. So they accelerate conflicts between supporters of different political parties, and they are conducting hybrid war. So these span physical, cyber, and social domains right now. And third, Lazarus, DPRK APT group. As mentioned earlier, they primarily target financial institutions and cryptocurrency exchanges. And their goal is to raise funds for the DPRK regime and economic sanctions. A recent characteristic is their focus on advanced social engineering. In fact, the company named KnowBe4 reported a case. Employee was hired after complete background checks and video interviews. This employee turned out to be a fake IT worker from North Korea. And they started loading malware the moment they received their workstation. So among our clients, there are companies that have previously been breached by Lazarus. So what's important? They also target security researchers. So we security professionals ourselves are being targeted right now. So these three APT groups have different objectives and methods, and we need to take appropriate countermeasures. Importantly, simulation alone is not enough. The TTPs, that is tactics, techniques, and procedures they use are analyzed day and night, so security companies do this. So they are reflected in blog articles and product detection rules, so EDR like firewall rules or EDR IOCs. So conversely, when they target new victims, they may use new TTPs. So while it is important to verify whether non-attack methods work, there is something to note. Attack listed in MITRE-ATT&CK or security researcher's blog are essentially attacks that vendors can detect. So thinking outside the box like attacker is crucial, I think. And moreover, the attack surface they focus on on is not limited to IT systems. Modern attacks cross boundaries. Physical intrusion is one example. And what if malicious third parties visit the office, so like in the opening scenario? Or what if newly hired employees are attackers? Unfortunately, typically, pen test is conducted with narrowed scopes. So this is done on a per scenario basis. So for example, intrusion from outside. Attacks exploit website vulnerabilities, and this is followed by intrusion into internal networks. And second example is enterprise network assessment using Microsoft AD. So we assume one endpoint is compromised, and then we perform privilege escalation, then lateral movement, then domain control takeover. So this is a common program setting, and it is also the subject of security certification, such as CRTP and OSCE. Another example is insider threats. So we assume a malicious employee can operate one laptop, and we attempt file exfiltration. So since the users themselves perform the file access that malware would target, so EDR security products like EDR may be bypassed, and the focus becomes DLP bypass. So I do not deny the usefulness and importance of these. However, again, in terms of typical risk tolerance, physical intrusion remains out of scope, and attacks on test or staging environment are preferred in Japan. So that is not enough. To fill this gap, what we aim for is advanced pen testing. And our goal is to simulate the resources, persistence, and flexibility of real adversaries. And attack paths include simultaneous execution of multiple attack paths, and physical to cyber pivots and cyber to physical pivots. By combining these, more realistic assessment become possible, or rather assessments based on actual threats or looking ahead of actual threats. Our pen test proceeds with this workflow. In the pre-engagement phase, we execute NDAs, we define attack objectives, attack goals, and rules of engagement. And then we sign contracts. After this, in the feasibility assessment phase, we design scenarios. We review existing security measures, such as EDR, and we verify evasion techniques. We assess attack feasibility. In the attack execution phase, we perform reconnaissance. We execute attacks, we achieve objectives, analyze results, compile reports. So by now, you must be curious about specific attack techniques. So I will focus on explaining specific parts of this workflow, pre-verification and attacks. From here, I will explain practical TTPs using a model case. While explaining the case, I will introduce our recommended attack techniques. Let me explain the setup. What kind of environment is this? So the target profile, tech startup, typical Japanese office in a multi-tenant office building. In Japan, multi-tenant buildings are common, and the penetration tester actions can extend to other companies' area. Exploiting camera blind spots is often unrealistic in this scenario, and infiltrating rate at night is also often unrealistic. However, during daytime, employees of other companies also move around, so wandering around does not raise suspicion. And on-premise server room exists in this setting. So the objective is to detect filtration via compromise of employee endpoints and internal repositories. And disclosure scope, so this refers to whether the attack is notified in advance. So who knows attacks, executive leadership and security team lead. And who doesn't know, so general employees and security team members. This is a typical red teaming setting. And the attack axis, this engagement combines physical intrusion, cyber operations, and pivoting between them. This achieves objective. And TTP will explain useful TTPs from both on-site and remote operations during this attack. And the focus area is differences from well-known TTPs. So well-known TTPs covered by OSCP and so on. And after walking through the case examples, we will introduce the scenario design principles. These are derived from multiple engagements. So let me show you the overall timeline of the exercise. So day 1 to 2, batch forgery, this led to physical entry achieved. And day 3 to 5, but hardware deployed, this led to initial foothold. And day 6 to 15, Slack CT established, and this led to internal reconnaissance. And after this, repository compromise, this led to supply chain attack. And finally, data exfiltration, this led to objective achieved. So over approximately 25 days, we progressively advanced the attack from physical intrusion to supply chain attack. So on-site operations look like this. So I'll explain step by step. First, reconnaissance. The objective is blend in, mimic employee and the ID. So this avoids suspicion during physical intrusion. So method, we observe employees at restaurants within the office building. Lunch and dinner times are effective. And observation items include dress code, whether formal or casual. So typical arrival and departure times, types of devices in use, and whether devices or ID badges are left unattended. And we also verify employee ID details from publicly available interview photos and like LinkedIn, and ID card design and material, lanyard color and number of SIMs of this. So based on this information, we forge sophisticated badges. And then we try to bypass the authentication. So objective is assess entrance access controls to validate physical intrusion feasibility. So survey items are type of access control, such as proximity card, IC card, smart card, or biometrics reader, and security guard locations and CCTV coverage. Anti-passback mechanisms, turnstiles, and flow control devices. Employee entry and exit patterns and timing. So door opening durations and typical schedules. So we survey these information. So, and whether employees look behind before entering the room or routinely hold doors open for others. This is a hint for infiltration. And actual intrusion method, we confirm IDM or UID authentication method through OSINT, and then we approach someone in close proximity at smoke areas or restaurants frequented by employees. So we copy their employee ID card with flipper 0. Why smoking areas and employee hangouts? So these are prime targets. Why? Targets stay for a certain period or longer, and the people not from the target's companies are not suspected. So it's a useful attack surface. And flipper 0, let me explain this device. This device is able to read, copy, and emulate RFID and NFC tags. So this is how we bypass physical entrance security. And let me introduce the malicious hardware to be used after physical intrusion. So please do not think of this as a vendor catalog. I will also explain the tips for using them. So first one is Omega cable. This is a USB cable. It functions as a keylogger or bad USB, and we replace cables at office desks. Equipment management stickers are sometimes attached to cables, so we attach sticker disguise as such. Also, it is good to add markings that react to black light, so they can be corrected later. Screen grab. This is a device that relays HDMI and captures videos. Insert it between the conference room monitor and its HDMI cable. The inside of Screen Grab is an Android device. It runs an app called screengrab.apk, and there is no automation function. So we introduced Tamax, rsync, and Chrome to build automatic file synchronization. So connect Screen Grab to your Raspberry Pi. You can monitor in real time. Packet Square Mark II. This is a man-in-the-middle device for Ethernet. Insert it between critical terminals or multifunction printers and their Ethernet cables. So pre-configuration is necessary to capture only specific protocols because mirroring all packets would make the network heavy. So maximum throughput is 100 megabps, so even on the 1000 base T connection. So yeah, so note that this limitation. Brandenburg LAN-tab. This is an Ethernet sniffing device. Insert it between Ethernet cables in server rooms, connect to Raspberry Pi for real-time packet capture. This is small and inexpensive, so easy to deploy in large quantities. And Packet Square and Brandenburg require attention to installation location. So it is difficult, they are difficult to handle large-scale traffic, so this may create network delays and export the installation. Keystroke. This is a keystroke logging and injection device. Insert it between unattended wired keyboards and PCs. In the office, key injection can be used to cause typos in package names for typo squatting attacks. However, we basically perform only logging to minimize detection risk. So concerning stealth, but USB type device should be dedicated to just only logging. Q70. This is an ultra-compact voice recorder with voice-operated recording. Install under conference room desks or behind monitors using magnets or double-sided tape undetectable by RF bug detectors. Why? Because it emits no radio signals. And approximately 450 hours recording on full charge, so it's very useful. 4G Pi, this is a 4G LTE communication module for Raspberry Pi. Aggregates data from other Raspberry Pis as an access point and exfiltrate via LTA. So separately contract LTE service, verify connectivity, and configure AP SSID to appear natural and legitimate. So preparation to avoid detection during physical intrusion. The worst scenario for us is operator detention by police. While these are no cases in Japan, there are some cases in the United States. Operators were arrested during red team exercise. So first, we report the red team exercise to the police, to the jurisdiction where the target company is located. And we establish a support team for the physical intrusion operator and position backup operator nearby, and maintain constant communication via headset using Bluetooth or Telegram. And we prepare a response flow in case of restraint. So carry documentation providing organizational affiliation and carry recording devices, both video and audio. So now let's go install the hardware. So installation example, we install Screen Grab, the screen capture device in conference rooms. We also install LAN-tab in server rooms. These devices aggregate collected information to Raspberry via Wi-Fi. They exfiltrate via LTE. Exfiltration via LTE is difficult to detect. So it is essentially indistinguishable from employees using smartphone. So other devices can also be installed throughout the office. So what are the prime targets? Targeting important executives would be ideal, but desks of people with low security awareness are also recommended. So desks with scattered files and equipment are prime targets. But the hardware deploy. In our experience, we could observe many things. Employee calendars, meeting projection materials, even executive video conferences. So what is shown on the right is the capture encoder decoder we developed it in-house. From here, I will explain remote operations. So this workflow is as follows. So let me explain each in detail. So first, analysis of testing laptop. So to investigate local attack vectors. So what does pre-configured testing environment mean? It is synonymous with kitted terminals distributed to target company users. And we can assume that pan-type APT group conduct reconnaissance close to this. So investing items are like this. So, and investigation of physical exfiltration and infiltration, we investigate whether physical exfiltration and infiltration are prevented by the following means. So removable strategies such as USB, SD, or HDD, media transfer protocol, optical media such as CD, DVD, or Blu-ray disc, so, and short-range wireless like Bluetooth. As shown in the screenshot, one product restricted file exfiltration via USB memory, but it did not restrict file exfiltration via Bluetooth. And investigation of online exfiltration and infiltration. So the screenshot on the left shows an example encoding the string Satoki into ICMP, and this one on the right shows an example embedding the string Satoki into datetime. So we select and use these protocols and the corresponding methods. And we then execute malware on laptops. So here I introduce effective techniques for both Python and Node.js. So why use script engines? Because both pandas and Lazarus are paying attention to these techniques, and script-based malware can be reused by changing their C2 server address. So, and attack using Python, assuming malicious package installation by users. So what is shown on the right is Python code obfuscated with PyArmor. We execute with Python 3 and obfuscate with PyArmor or PyFuck. So convert to binary with PyInstaller. And attack using Node.js, assuming using of VH bytecode. So considering real attack cases and detection evasion, we execute with Node.js, standalone Node.js, and so on. So what if the script engine is not installed on the target terminal? EDR detects execution of script engine installers. So blue teams might think, why is back office installing Python? That's strange. So the workaround for this is actually simple. So many script engines have portable versions executable without installation. So no installation events occur. So legitimate binaries are executed, so no one suspects. So that's effective. And connection to suspicious servers are quickly detected. So we recommended utilizing legitimate service used by the target organization as C2 servers, for example, so cloud instance such as AWS, GCP, or Azure, or messenger apps like Slack or Discord. And by embedding commands and the execution results in regularly transmitted information, detection becomes difficult, like daily report text. So lateral movement. Lateral movement methods are diverse, but here I will focus on source code repositories. Attackers do not initially know what repositories they can access, so what should they do? Start by checking terminal logs, gain GitHub access, and find suitable repositories for implementing backdoors. So we obtain SSH keys from production endpoints to access targets organization repositories. So extract username from SSH keys, so recursively collect all valid repositories. And let's move on backdoor placement. So within what repositories are attack targets, GitHub repositories are considered to contain internal platform, their documentation, CI/CD, and related internal tools. So you need to conceal suspicious activities such as commit and push. I will explain how to detect backware. backdoors. In Git, with basic setting, it is possible to create commit logs disguised as other users. So, and adding backdoor to project, what commit should we make? If we aimed malicious code as is, reviewers will also be suspicious. So therefore, I will introduce a method to disable this display on GitHub. To disable diff display, so files change for backdoor code. So step 1, delete multiple files disguised as human error to create a large diff. And step 2, add backdoor code to some of the deleted files. And step 3, restore deleted files, including backdoor. And detection bypass of the backdoor. Let us also devise way to prevent malicious code from being searches. So evade text search using special characters in backdoor code. Homoglyph attack use visually similar Kirill characters, Latin P versus Kirill P to existing variables. And analyze the leverage information from GitHub repositories. We have successfully embedded backdoors in repositories this way. So so you can use these attack techniques to supply chain attacks. And let me review the overall timeline again. So by progressively advancing the attack step by step, we ultimately achieve our objectives. So interestingly, blue teams had failed to detect any attacks in my experience. And how was detection evaded? So multiple parallel attack paths and physical and cyber mutual pivots. So from these cases, we derive principles. So in practice, the TTP discussed so far have been selected and discarded in a scenario like this timeline. And so what the principles? So here are the 3 principles. So let me explain them step by step. So principle 1, simulate adversary thinking. So as mentioned at the beginning, serious attackers would not use already known TTPs. Therefore, it is important to simulate decision-making process, not techniques. From our cases, batch forgery, so how not to raise suspicion. So but hardware, what can we bring in? And see to design what's already allowed. So attackers consistently ask what would be allowed, that what would be normal, what the path of least resistance. So this thought process is important, I think. And principle 2, physical and cyber mutual pivots. So each boundary crossing reveals new attack surface. Rather than sticking to a single attack vector, more effective attacks become possible by flexibility crossing boundaries. And principle 3, identify critical points. From our cases, critical points include physical entry success, initial C2 establishment, and redundancy implementation includes like this. So design where one failure doesn't stop everything. So it is important to ensure that even if failure occurs somewhere in the attack chain, objectives can be achieved through alternative routes. So let me summarize what we discussed today. So advanced penetration methodologies, why and how, mimicking real advisory thinking, physical and cyber mutual pivots, and practical TTPs for on-site and remote operations. So batch forgery, bad hardware, Slack C2, GitHub tampering. And these are field-validated techniques and 3 principles of scenario design. So I hope these insights will help improve your organizational security. And finally, supplementary information. In actual pen testing, we test many more PTPs, so kind of infiltration via fake resume or interview, so IT worker TTPs of DPRK, and information extraction from MFPs, and cyber recon and phishing against target employees, so, and many more. So if you are interested, please come to us later, and let us discuss. And this project was conducted with my colleagues, so thank you for that. So this is acknowledgement. So yeah, this concludes our presentation. So advanced pen testing is not merely a technical exercise, so it is crucial to deeply understand and reproduce the thinking and actions of real attackers. By considering attack passes that cross physical and cyber boundaries, more comprehensive security assessment becomes possible. So thank you for your attention. So I will take questions. So
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yuma. We have time for questions. We already have a raised hand right there. Amazing, if you can raise up. The gentleman first. Sorry, I didn't see you there. No problem.
Arigato, Yuma. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Chinese, North Korea, Russian ATPs. Are there any local Japanese ATPs that are, let's say, financially motivated, doing financially motivated attacks like ransomware on Japanese companies? Mm-hmm. And also, second question, do you also see any attacks on industry infrastructure or like industrial controllers or any other kind of attacks that are not ransomware related? Mm.
So, well, first of all, mainly, so there are Russian-based ransomware groups targeting Japan right now, but it's differs from the government-backed nation-state APTs. So they are only they are only cyber criminals, I think, and. May I ask the second question again?
Have you observed or do you know of any attacks on industrial controllers like factories or manufacturing companies?
Mm-hmm. So in this presentation, the factory is out of scope, and in other engagement, we utilize fuzzing to find the factories' vulnerabilities.
Great, thank you. We have time for one more question. The lady, please.
Thank you. A lot of the presentation was focused on thinking like an attacker. So I was wondering, from a defender's perspective, are there 1 or 2 points in your penetration testing where defenders could have acted to discover the test and to end it? What are like 1 or 2 points for defenders to be more careful about?
Mm-hmm. So I think the important point is fill the gap between the security policies and actual security solutions operations. So the sometimes policies prohibit the devices on disk or so it forces to attach stickers to like this. So, but sometimes attackers find the gap between policies and operations. So checking the policies is important, I think.